everyone, and welcome to this video on how to create a data strategy. My name is Andrew Means. I'm the founder of Good Tech Fest, and excited to be with you here today to talk about how your organization can create a data strategy. This video goes alongside the data strategy guide that you can find in the resource library at data.org. And over the next few minutes, I'm going to sit down and have conversations with 3 different social sector leaders on how they think about how to create a data strategy. In particular, anchoring on the concepts of purpose, practice, and people. Those are really the 3 foundations of a data strategy. And to help dig into that a little bit more, I sit down with data.org fellow Jake Porway.
I'm Jake Porway. I'm a research fellow at data.org. And that means I spend my time thinking about the field of data science and AI for social impact. And that covers everything from understanding what strategies people are using to succeed to building out resources that could help nonprofits and other social organizations use data better.
So Jake, I'd love to zoom in a little bit on the pillar of purpose. And when it comes to identifying the purpose for your data strategy, what are some of the mistakes that organizations tend to make?
Yeah, I love purpose. That's my favorite pillar because to me, that's your whole reason for doing this. If you know your purpose, everything else falls out. And I think one of the things that can be really helpful in figuring out your purpose is first recognizing that there are layers in an organization for which you could be using data. They're quite different. As nonprofits, we often have not just the operations that we have to deal with, where you'll hear about folks using data to target funders that you want to reach or speed up operations. We also have the onus of proving that our work has an impact. Measurement and evaluation is an entirely other field of using data for social impact. And so I think one of the things to first recognize in figuring out your purpose is thinking about, am I more concerned in one area or another? Do I need to kind of prove my intervention, in which case maybe I'm collecting data to do experimentation. And again, measurement and evaluation can be very helpful there. Am I using data to help guide me as a human to build out a strategy? Like, do I want to understand what we've done in the past and what the market's doing so I can kind of pick where we're going to grow? That's another use. Or am I trying to speed up my operations? Say, hey, listen, I've got this really powerful way of triaging patients at a clinic, let's say, but it's really laborious. And so maybe data and computing could help me kind of speed that up or scale that out. So that's one of the first things I think about is as you run through your organization, don't start from your data and tech team. They're going to be critical, but don't start from just like a data need. Think more about what are the kind of layers and purpose that I'm trying to work through, whether I'm trying to prove something or speed something up. That can be really helpful. And on the converse, that's where I think people make a big mistake is they either just try to tackle it all together as data, or they focus on just one little piece and they miss huge opportunities elsewhere in the organization that they could be using data.
Next up, I'm going to talk to Dr. Ronda Železný-Green, who is the program director for the Capacity Building Network at data.org. And we're going to talk about some of the different practices that you might want to consider when developing your data strategy. Could you talk some about how you're thinking about the different kinds of practices and capabilities that organizations need to develop?
Sure. So, I think one of the things that has been top of mind for me quite a bit, like I am on that website, Have You Been Owned, meaning that my data has been taken by a hacker, from LinkedIn or Twitter or whatever. And so what I think I'm really concerned with is making sure that data privacy and how we handle data, store data and things like that, having those skills in social impact organizations will be so key because often social impact organizations are helping the neediest of the society that they live and work in. And so when you're working with very vulnerable people, ensuring that we do not cause more harm is extremely important. So for me, that skill, making sure we know what data privacy means, how to keep data safe and stored, that's one of the top skills that I'm thinking of. Having a diversity of people around that table, that's also something I think social impact organizations will benefit from. And then finally, I would say that, it's not necessarily a skill, but it's going to be important through the work of the Capacity Accelerator Network to make sure that we are demystifying data, because I think a lot of the times when you talk about data, the persona that probably immediately comes to mind behind is not someone who looks like me. And so we want to make sure that everyone feels like it's data science is for everyone, data analysis is for everyone, working with data is for everyone. And it's easy to do, it's cool. And so join us in this work.
I love that. I love the focus on kind of the diversity, equity, and inclusion. But then also just from a skills perspective, I think starting and grounding in security and then like, don't collect what you can't protect, that kind
Absolutely.
of mantra.
And only
so
collect
important.
what is absolutely necessary.
Yeah,
well.
exactly. Right. And really, getting away from this, just capturing everything that you might think of under the sun. It's like, yeah, collect what's needed and protect it. The third leg of our data strategy stool, people, might be actually one of the most important ones to think about. And so I invited Jake Garcia, who leads technology and data at Candid, to talk about how he's developed out a data science team inside a nonprofit organization.
I'm the VP of products at Candid, and we create products like Foundation Directory and GuideStar and APIs and some data services, basically things that help nonprofits find grants from foundations and help foundations find nonprofits to partner with, to give grants to, and help businesses find nonprofits that they want to partner with. And so under the products team, it includes data science, and it also includes the data that we get and use. Most of the products themselves are really based around the data. But what's unusual about what we have the data scientists do compared to what I've seen how data science is used at other nonprofits and at other companies, like for-profit companies, is that our data scientists have spent most of their time working on the data quality, improving the data, and finding the data for the product itself. Not as much so far on the understanding what users are doing. We want more people to click on this button kind of thing. We haven't done that as much. We're starting to spend more time on that.
Yeah. So could you talk some about how do you think about those? Like, I'm going to grow the skills my team has. I'm going to expand my team, or I'm going to go to kind of like an outside contractor consultant. Like, how do you think about which one of those to choose from?
Comes down to hopefully identifying the right staff you have that can be adaptable, can learn new things, then figuring out the size of the problem you've got. And if you really can train your staff to be able to do that, and if not, then can you bring someone else in? And if you're really lucky, then they're like, oh man, that thing we brought in is really cool. Let's run with it ourselves. And then also expand upon that and do something else that's a little bit more experimental.
I think one of the things that I've seen you do really well with your team at Candid is like hiring curious people that can learn, and then like supporting that learning. And I think that's, one of the keys I think that I've seen to your success. If you were to give organizations one piece of advice around how to start developing out data capacity and building out a data team, what would that be?
The thing that I found is the most useful for folks, especially in the nonprofit sector, is taking classes like you can get through Coursera on things like data analysis or Python and SQL. I think it doesn't require a tremendous amount of expertise the way that a lot of other technical skills are. You can train someone who just knows how to use Excel and is pretty smart. You can teach them how to use Python, how to manage relatively large data sets pretty quickly, and get them really up to speed and get them really excited about. You can use data science methods without having to know the statistics behind it, just to help evaluate which algorithm to use. I think it can be really useful. And then, because then, most of the time, your data scientists spend their time cleaning the data to make sure it's usable in the first place. So, to be like, I need a Ph.D. in statistics in order to start, I think is not necessarily the right solution. So we found we were able to convert a lot of people into really good data engineers who are knowledgeable enough about data science that they could get started. And really, a lot of it started with learning Python and SQL.
Jake Garcia has done a fantastic job in building out the data and technology team at Candid. And I think one of the things that he touches on in our conversation around knowing how to develop the people that you have and knowing when you need to go to outside resources is such great insight. And as you're thinking about how to implement your data strategy, I hope that's really helpful. As a reminder, this video accompanies the Data Strategy Guide that can be found at the data.org resource library. In that guide, you'll find more resources, links to articles that could be helpful as you consider developing out your own data strategy. No matter where you are in your data journey, I am hopeful that this video and these resources can help nudge you and support you as you look to increase your data maturity. So be sure to check out data.org's resource library for more. And thanks so much for joining me today.